Yes, guys. Hello and welcome to another Spurs-related YouTube video and podcast. I hope everyone is doing very well on this Monday. Today, we are going to be reviewing the centre-back options that Tottenham have on the table. Not necessarily a Tier 1 link yet, or necessarily a Tier 1 source, but potential centre-backs in the market that could be available for Tottenham Hotspur. We're going to be realistic in this video, and we're going to analyse 4 different centre-back options that potentially Spurs should make a move for it, especially in that left centre-back role. Tonight, I'm joined alongside Andre of SpursRelated all the way from Canada and Wacko Jacko all the way from his garden in the Maldives. How are you all doing?
God, in the Maldives, wow. Not exactly the Maldives, more like Hertfordshire. But I'll tell you what, I like Hertfordshire. Would have been nicer to be in the Maldives, but I'm doing well, James. Looking forward to discussing potential centre-back options.
Love that, love that. And Andre, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing great. Obviously, really excited to talk about, probably the weakest part of our squad, what we're going to be doing with that. Will we find the right defender to fill in that position?
Absolutely love it. Now, as I said, 4 centre-back options. We'll go through them one by one. We'll have a little maybe out of 10 score of what you give it as well, just to summarise. And guys, as always, on the videos, please do smash a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. Subscribe if you are new. And hit a comment. Who are your centre-back choices? Who would you go for if you were in the driving seat? Let us know in the comments. Over to Andre to kick us off.
Perfect. So, right out of the bat, we got to talk about one very specific player that, to me personally, seems like, somewhat of a, I think he'd be a really good
throw me out. That's fine.
Which is Bremer. Okay. I personally think this would be a great signing. The biggest context being the fact that Juventus, since they didn't make the Champions League, they have to recoup some money. And they're saying that they might be willing to part ways with Bremer if the right bid comes in. What the right bid would be, I'm not sure. However, somewhere between the $50-60 million mark is my guess. Would Tottenham even bother trying to bid something so big? We'll see. But I think Jack here has a bit more on Bremer.
Well, Bremer, as we all know, last year won Serie A Defender of the Year, just like Tottenham's very own Christian Romero. So he's got a few accolades already. He's had quite an impressive season for Juventus. I think the fans are certainly warming to him as he's kind of nailed down a starting spot. But the reason why we're talking about this potential option is because Juventus may be having some financial problems, not being in the Champions League. So they may look to sell some of their players to raise funds. So Bremer is 1.88 meters tall, so he's quite a tall player, which means he's going to command a physical presence at the back. And as Andre said, about 50 to 60 million, but he's also valued on transfer market at 14 million, and he has a contract running to 2027. So it is a lengthy contract. We can't try and get a cut price deal. So we're going to have to pay the money for him, but he with a very big ceiling and certainly someone who is a bit of a statement signing, and I think we'd get the fans quite excited. Whenever I've watched him play in Europe this season and in the league, he's been quite strong, quite commanding at the back, and I feel like he'd be a very strong addition. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think you've summarised it really nicely. He's strong. He's a modern day centre back, so he can fit into an Ange system, play a high line. I think he's an aggressive player. And I think left side, like you said, he's left-footed as well, right? So left-sided centre-back. Him and Romero could be a formidable partnership, both obviously coming from Serie A. And, as we know, it's quite a physical league, probably one of the most physical leagues in the world, to be honest. So, yeah, I think it could definitely make sense. I don't know his stats inside out. I'm not going to start sitting here and thinking I'm the Euro expert, but I'm sure a lot of people in the comments will be able to tell me if they think it's a good move. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10. I'll go.
Okay, another question I'd have for the panel is, for me, he's quite an aggressive player. He's not necessarily one who is going to step off and wait to see what's going to happen next, let the attackers work their trickery and then step in. He's someone who likes to win the ball aggressively, in my opinion, just like Christian Romero. So do you think they're going to complement each other well? Is it worth taking a risk on two really high players that are going to push up the field and start the playoff straight away? Or do you think we need to look for a more reserved centre-half, maybe someone the likes of Pau Torres, which is also someone that may be in our list, no spoilers.
I think
What do
I
you reckon?
think to answer your question, we need both, right? Because if I was in charge of transfers, Dyer would be going, Tanganga would be going, Sanchez would be going, and probably Longley. It looks like we might buy him on a cheap deal, but we need squad depth. We need 4 or 5 centre backs, right? At least 4.
Mm,
And if you get rid of all them, you've only got 2 or 3 left. So I think we need a more aggressive, forward-minding, could fit into the Ange system, because don't forget both the centre backs play a high line under this system, with the inverted fullbacks also covering with the number 6 moving back. But also, I think we need that more reserved one, especially in games where we need to be more defensive. Maybe we need to soak up some pressure like a Manchester City or something.
sure.
So I think, to answer your question, Jack, we would need both types of centre back, dependent on the game and the situation in the game.
Yeah, I
No, I
totally
agree.
agree.
I agree,
And
and I think that's why I personally would give this defender, if we made the signing, a solid 8.5 out of 10. I think would be a perfect addition. Some games would call for both players to be very aggressive high line. Some games would call for one defender to be reserved and the other one to push up. And I think it'd be good to have one of each on both the left side and the right side of the center back positions. So by all means, bring in Bremer. That guy, I'm pretty sure, was in the Serie A best squad or something like that in terms of this season, right? He played like 43 matches. He scored a few goals even. My only concern was he was injured a few times this season, but which player isn't, right? It's just a matter of making sure that they weren't recurring injuries and that he recovered quickly, which he did. But other than that, yeah, I mean, why not? It's just a matter of whether we're willing to pay that kind of money.
yeah, totally agree. I think if we could pick him up and he'd be willing to come to N17, then it'd be a fantastic addition. And I'd personally give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Nice. There we go. 8.5, 7.57. What do you guys think? Bremer in the comments. Let us know. 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Let us know. On to the next one, Andre.
Perfect. So the next one is Tapsoba from Leverkusen. I personally think this would be a good addition as well. He's obviously very known. There's a whole debate that I've seen that some people would prefer Ta over this guy, but I mean, would Ta be more expensive? Would this guy fit the mold? That's the big question here. But Jack's the one with all the stats. So Jack, please fill us in.
Okay, Soba currently has a contract ending in 2026. He is valued on transfer market at 25 million euros. Him and Jonathan Tah have formed quite a formidable partnership in the Bundesliga this season. And like you say, a lot of people are quite keen on Tah, but for me, it'd be better to go for the younger option. I think Tapsoba has a lot of potential in the future. I've only watched a few Bundesliga games this season, but from what I've read and from what I've heard, he's a very talented young defender, and it seems like he's got quite a high ceiling. And yeah, I personally would be quite keen on the move. There's a few other names here, maybe a bit more established than himself. But realistically, once we've seen with these moves, like when Spurs were linked with Ruben Diaz, not many people knew much of him at Benfica, but it was now or never. And this could be a similar signing here, because if we don't move in quick, like Man City eventually took Diaz off us, and when Skriniar didn't move to us, there's only certain windows you can get these type of caliber of players. So I wonder if it will be similar here for Tapsoba.
I agree here. I think it'd be very interesting to see him come to the Tottenham squad. I mean, out of the gate, the options we sign anyone who's of a high caliber and he automatically starts, right? It's not saying too much to say that they would start. It's just a matter of making sure that they fit Postecoglou's system. The guy played 47 matches this season, scored 2 goals, 2 assists, garnered around 7 yellow cards across the season. but he stayed more or less healthy, which is another good thing to see. Because sometimes young players, they have a good season, but you can see those injuries foreshadowing what's going to be a very injury-ridden signing for us. But not the case with him, and I'd be very excited to bring him in. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think you guys have covered it well. Like I said, like Jack's pretty much said, I don't watch him week in, week out. I don't watch Bundesliga every week, but from what I've seen, he's pretty good. There is a couple stats that do sort of scare me a little bit. Average info goal rating, 6.19 rating. So he's averaging a 6 out of 10 every game. Is that good? I would argue not incredible. Defensive wise, though, 82% tackle success is pretty good. Yellow cards 4 isn't anything to be like Romero worried about in games. Yeah, 1 goal, expected 2, but he's a defender, so we don't really look too much at his attacking stats. It's more the defensive ones and the disciplinary ones. Passing as well, 86% pass completion. We're going to need a centre-back that can pass from the back successfully and pivot to the centre mids and not give the ball away like we've had Eric Dyer and other Sanchez just giving the ball away so many times this year. So 86% pass completion is pretty good. You know, it's pretty much 9 in 10. So yeah, it looks pretty promising. Probably not a top pick, but
Would
if
you
we
have
can get
any
him,
reservations about his age, being 24? Quite a few players on this list are a bit more experienced and played at a higher level for longer. Do you believe he can make that step up? Because for me, I feel like he'd be a good signing as long as we see someone of the caliber of maybe a Pau Torres or a Bremer coming alongside him. Because I don't see Levy spending 100 million on 2 players, but I think if we could get him for a deal of around 30 million and someone like a Pau Torres comes in and we pay 50 or 55, we've then got 2 very good centre backs that are both capable of coming into our starting 11. Do you think we'd need someone higher caliber coming in alongside him?
yeah, I think so. You need a bit of experience for sure. If you're looking at replacing essentially Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez, right? You're looking at a starting centre back in Eric Dyer. I don't know how he's been a starting centre back, but there we are. So you're looking at a more experienced player, and you're also looking at Davinson Sanchez. Obviously, when we bought him, he was a pretty young player, like 22, 23 years old. So we're going to be looking at someone like this guy, right? So you need 2 different types of players. You need one that's on the fringe that can fill in when someone gets injured or suspended, and you need a more experienced player. I think you're right, Jack. And this is why I would probably not make this guy a priority. I would prioritize the likes of a Laporte is the one I want, but I don't know how likely that is. I don't know how likely Laporte is going to want to come to Tottenham, who are finished outside Europe, but let's see.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, I would definitely be, my priorities would lie elsewhere with the big names, but we also have to stay realistic with Tottenham and how they've been, the history of how they've done some deals. So if Daniel Levy is really serious about overhauling the squad, then might want to prioritize spending an extra 15 million on a much bigger, more experienced player.
Before we move on, what would you give this as a rating out of 10, James and Andre?
6.5 out of 10.
I'll give it a 7. Still a decent player. And again, to Leverkusen, people who watch Leverkusen, I'm not trying to downplay this player. I'm sure he's great, but we're just analyzing from the point of view of what Tottenham would need, like, immediately.
Yeah, I would agree with James, a 6.5 out of 10 if he was a player that come in on his own. But if he was paired with a Pau Torres or someone of the caliber of Aymeric Laporte, which we can all dream about, I'd move this up to probably a 7.5.
Nice. Andre, next player.
Great. So the next one we were looking at is Max Kilman from Wolves. Obviously, Wolves didn't end in a very good position this season, so it's something to think about. But overall, he played 41 matches this season, garnered 4 yellow cards, stayed healthy throughout the whole season, really. So that's good. But in terms of his style of playing things, I'm gonna pass that over to Jack.
Max Kilman, for me, I think he's a very talented youngster. He is 24. Is he 24 years of age? I had it somewhere on my stat sheet. 1.94 meters. So he is even taller. He's a tall guy. He's
26.
left-footed. He can play out from the back. And the manager, Julian Lopetegui, has had lots of positive things to say about him. He's become quite a trusted player at the back for Wolves this season. For me, I think he's a very strong presence, likes to play out from the back, get on the ball, and I think he'd be a welcomed addition. The only thing that I would give him the edge on Tapsoba is that he's got more experience in the Premier League. He knows how. Well, Wolves are quite a defensive side, but he's willing to play out from the back. And yeah, I would say that gives him an edge. But I also believe he's not quite of the caliber of a Laporte or a Pau Torres, which also means he would need to come in alongside one of them, because I don't believe that him from Dyer, obviously, it's all an upgrade, as well. I'm sure we can all agree on, but it's not going to be a player of a Romero standard. I still wouldn't get overly excited about a move for Max Kilman, but it's definitely someone that I would be happy to be brought in if it was brought in alongside a Laporte or a Pau Torres.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair enough, Jack. I think I would agree with the experience thing. He's 26, so he's slightly older than you mentioned. But I mean, at the same time, he's only been starting for Wolves for a couple of seasons, so I think you've got to factor that one in. But a lot of the Spurs relatables rate this guy. Like, a lot of people are saying they take Kilman over the likes that we mentioned the other day. So, I mean, let's hear what the Spurs relatables are saying in the chat on this one. But for me, I think I'd still go Laporte over him. I'd still go Pau Torres over him. I'd rather pay 10, 20 million more and secure a player that I know is European standard. Obviously, that's what we're pushing for next season. So I really do believe I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. And I know a lot of people in the comments won't agree, but we're all here for debate, and I want to hear what the Spurs relatables are saying as well, right?
And just quickly, his contract ends in 2026. Sorry, that's why I've got that age problem wrong. But thanks for correcting me, James. So he has got quite a long contract. But another thing to add is a lot of clubs in the Premier League have been very impressed by him. I think in the past he's been linked with Chelsea for around a £15 million fee. So he's definitely not going to be cheap. That may be because he's English as well, which always brings the price up higher, as we know. But he's definitely someone that I would be interested to see how he plays in a really attacking system. So I would rate this transfer a 7 out of 10.
Okay, Andre?
Yeah, see, I'd be a little concerned just for the fact that he was a part of obviously the team as a whole is to blame in the results, right? It's not just comes down to one player, but this guy was in the squad for their 6-0 loss to Brighton. He was in the squad for their, I believe it was a 4-0 loss to a now relegated Leicester. So things to think about in terms of performances overall, right? I would be a bit concerned with something like that. However, I'm not going to pretend like I watched all the Wolves games and watched Max Kilman play every single match. So I'll leave it up to the Spurs relatables. I did see a lot of that in the last few episodes, how they've been mentioning him. And I'm sure, one player can stand out over the rest. And if that's the case with him, great if we get a good deal. But overall, for now, for me, it's a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Interesting. Let us know in the chat, guys, what you rate Max Kilman. I know a lot of you are probably going to put 8s, but I'm all for hearing it. I'm all for hearing the benefits of him. That's for sure. Last player, Andre.
Perfect. And of course, someone we've talked about a couple of times now, Pau Torres. I mean, we talked about that release clause, 55 million, and the fact that it would take a lot for him to leave. He's secured European football as well. But to be honest, if Tottenham were to get him, that would be a very good addition, a left-footed, tall center back to pair up with Romero. They speak the same language. There's a lot of positives on this, right? There's more to it than just on the field. There's so many other little details that just go beyond just playing, right? The chemistry, the fact that they can speak the same language right out of the gates does so much for Romero, being able to just in the moment, right? If Spanish is what comes out in the moment, the fact that Pau Torres can just be like, yeah, just talk to me in Spanish if you have something you got to say when we're on the field. Cool. And overall, just the stats have been well. We've gone over it before, but I'll leave that up to Jack.
Yeah, sorry, I was just making sure I've done my due diligence properly before I got another age wrong. Pau Torres, he's also tall, 1.91 metres, very comfortable from playing out the back, as we all know. He's also been at Villarreal his whole career. So when we're talking about a player that's going to be hard to convince, just like we know with Harry Kane, the reason we've managed to keep on him for so long is because he has that affection for the club. So maybe something similar is going to happen with Pau Torres being at the club, coming through the youth system, only moving to Malaga on a loan move, but he's stayed there his whole career. So clearly there's a lot of love and affection between the two. But for me, this would be a game-changing signing, especially where Tottenham are right now outside Europe. The way Ange Postecoglou wants to set his team up, someone who's comfortable to get on the ball, play through the lines, get the ball into Bentancur and Bissouma, and really start off that attacking phase of play. I feel like it'd be a great addition. For me, playing for the Spanish national team as well, whenever he's been called upon, that's all he knows, playing attacking style of football. If you watch Spain in the World Cup, I know they lost on penalties, I think, to Japan, but some of the football that absolutely fantastic, and all the players from the midfield to Gavi, Busquets, they were so comfortable on the ball and always looking for the ball to come to feet and looking to turn out and progress the ball forward. And I feel like that all starts from the back, from the defenders like Pau Torres. And I honestly I'd love him to come and just see how much he can excel in a Premier League team. But I do feel if they are willing to sell, it would come with a lot of competition, and hopefully Spurs can use their training facilities and world-class stadium and the likes of Harry Kane and Son and etc. But I just feel like this one would be a hard one to get over the line.
Well, listen, Jack. I mean, if we can't attract Pau Torres and we can attract Beyonce to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, then we obviously got something wrong going on there, mate. But just to give my quick thoughts on Pau Torres, I think you're pretty much spot on, Jack. I like his attacking play. Passing out from the back is obviously key. You mentioned his passing's class. 85% pass completion, I think, is the best in this video so far. 1,981 passes last season, 1,691 complete. So only 300 pass errors out of nearly 2,000. Pretty impressive. You look at his defensive success, 77% tackle success, pretty good. 10 yellow cards, so could have number 2 on Romero there, but Romero's probably more like 15. Also, 6.41 info goal rating. I'm taking that with a bit of pinch of salt, but that's better than the other centre backs. And I know it's difficult to get a higher rating as a centre back, especially if you play a game. Even if you lost 4-1, you're likely to get a 7 max. So it's
and if you're not in one of the top teams, like you say, James, if you're not a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, or a Sevilla in the past, or a Atletico Madrid, if you're constantly defending, you're not really going to get the credit you deserve, in my opinion. Sometimes, if we watch the game intensely, we can tell that he's playing fantastic balls through the lines. We can tell his switch of play to the wings is brilliant. But sometimes on these apps, he's not always credited for that. So I think, like you say, we'll take it with a pinch of salt, because I think we all can agree Pau Torres would be a fantastic addition.
Yeah, he's spot on. And if I was gonna give a rating very quickly, I'd give it probably an 8.5 out of 10. I think this player is probably second on my list if I was to choose. You guys know how I feel about Aymeric Laporte. I think he would be the one. He's got Premier League experience at a Champions League winning team, a Premier League, multi-Premier League winning team. He's class. He's world class. I don't think I put Pau Torres in that bracket yet, but I put Laporte genuinely in the world class bracket. Call me mad, but I just think he's class. Left-footed as well. It just, for me, it makes complete sense. I know we've not covered him in the video, but let us know, guys, who is your number one pick. Andre, I just want to hear a little bit from you about your thoughts on Pau Torres, because I know you're a massive fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even in the previous episodes when we've talked about, and if you guys haven't checked out the top 3 one, go check it out. That one had some of our best picks to sign, and Pau Torres was one of mine. And for a good reason. He's got good stats, consistency throughout the seasons, plays attacking style, left-footed, could speak the same language as Romero. I mean, at that point, it's just rinse and repeat of what I've been saying for, I don't know, about 4 windows now. Just if we could get this guy, that'd be great. This would be a solid 9 out of 10 for me. I think this would be the guy to bring in, just to slot into that starting 11. And not to mention that, personally, on my end, I know this was controversial a few episodes ago. We talked about giving players another chance. If we brought Reguilon in, that would be another one that would be meshing well with the back line.
Yeah, no, good point, actually. Very good point. Jack, what's your rating? Just quickly.
It's got to be an 8 out of 10. I'm actually in the camp of James. I do think Aymeric Laporte would just be that step above due to his Premier League experience. But I tell you what, if we bring Pau Torres in, I'll be extremely excited to see how he works with Ange Postecoglou. Yeah, great addition. Euro expert who we had on the channel yesterday, fantastic video, also said he would be the one centre back he would love to see join Tottenham due to his attacking philosophy. So I think if you know and watch his videos, it would be exciting to see him in a back four with Romero, Udogie, and Porro. So yeah, I like him a lot.
There we go. Jack said he'd be ecstatic, and we might even see a video of him backflipping in his back garden there next video if we were to sign him. But guys, that is all we have time for today. Do smash a thumbs up. Like I said, the support on the channel at the moment has been crazy. We're overwhelmed. I think it's plus 200 subs in the last 2 weeks, which is really, really impressive. And it's all thanks to you guys. So big up yourselves. If you could smash a like, amazing. If you could subscribe, it's more amazing. And if you could turn notification bells onto our videos to never miss a video, you're absolute legends. Andre, Jack, you've been great. Thanks for joining me as always. And remember, guys, come on, you Spurs!